We have spent nearly 2 straight weeks with temperatures in the 90s. Many of us have our air conditioners working overtime. But is there a right way to keep your home cool without sending your energy bill through the roof? And what happens if your AC stops working? So we're joined by the experts, Will Berry and Brandon Fisher with Barrico, to talk all about it. All right, so Will, you and I talked a little bit last week about how ACs are designed specifically to reach certain temperatures, and when it's 100 and something degrees, it's tough.
Correct. And so, for example, when you design an HVAC system to work in a home, there's what's called design temperatures that are really an industry standard or a rule that we go by. And it usually takes 99% of the time, the temperatures within, say, Greensboro, North Carolina, within 99% of the time, it is no hotter than 94 degrees, no less than 22 degrees. And so when you operate outside of those temperatures, we're in the 1% of time that it's outside of those extremes. And so your system's going to be working harder than it normally does. So it might take a little bit longer to get to the cooling standards. And then, like we like to tell our customers, is that when it's 100 degrees out and you still walk in and it's 75 degrees in your home, it still feels pretty nice. So that's some luxuries that you can have.
Yeah, I don't want to throw shade at my husband, always wanting it to be 67 degrees, but I told him, hey, that's probably not what's going to happen when it's 100 degrees outside. So I appreciate you talking about that. All right, hey, Brandon, let's talk about what happens if our AC just isn't working or it's frozen or something like that. When we call for help, what should we be doing as homeowners?
Great question. So a couple of things that we have noticed that we can eliminate on some nuisance calls is one, check your filter. One of the biggest issues that we see is customers will allow their filters to get stopped up, and if that system is not breathing properly, then we will see that the system will freeze up and not perform as it should. Secondly, one of the other bigger nuisance calls that we see, excuse me, is if the home has a Duke Power module that's connected to the home. Duke Power can actually manage how much usage on your air conditioning during the peak day to see if that system is working too hard. They can shut it down to lower, their utility uses. So if you have that module on the side of your house, take the time before you call someone to walk around to see if the green light is on, then that means you're good. But if you see an amber light or a red light on that module, then Duke Power is controlling your system.
Gotcha. Okay. And so often we hear the term, my AC is frozen. It's not working. If it's frozen and we call for help, Will, what should we be doing before the technician actually gets to our house?
Yeah, it's very helpful for a technician to have a completely thawed unit. So if your unit's frozen, you want to cut it off, cut the air conditioning off, but turn the fan on. So it's blowing some warm air and it will defrost that unit by the time the technician gets there. And that way we can properly diagnose what's going on. If we get there and the unit's frozen, we'll have to back away until it's thawed out and return to visit to properly diagnose things.
Okay, and how long does it take to thaw out your system?
It could, I think if the fan's on and it's 100 degrees out, 2 or 3 hours is probably adequate. Some units may be different if they're in the shade or customer forgets to turn the fan on. It could take 4 or 5 hours. Usually we'll ask a customer, like, is it currently frozen? We'll schedule them towards the later part of the day, but ask them to give us a call back to verify, hey, unit's frozen, tech's okay to come.
All right, and Brandon, can you explain exactly what does frozen mean? Because I think a lot of people just throw out that word and say, oh, I think my AC is frozen, but what does that actually mean? What would we see if it's frozen?
So on a traditional air conditioning system, if you have an air handler in an outdoor unit or condenser, the system will actually start to freeze on the inside unit first, which we can't normally see. And if it has frozen up solid, and basically it's like a big block of ice, it will then gravitate all the way out through the Freon lines to the condenser, and then the condenser starts to freeze up. So if they're starting to see ice on the outside, it is 10 times as worse on the inside. So just keep in mind, and that's why we want to run the fan on the inside to thaw out the indoor coil section, because the heat's going to take care of the outdoor section. So when it's frozen like that, if it's frozen on the outside, then it's like I said, it's a lot worse on the inside.
And another indicator might be the customer's getting air coming out of the vents, but it's not cool air, right?
No air.
Or no air at all.
Yeah.
but the thermostat's on.
Yeah, and if they can hear the blower running, but they're not getting any air or very little air through the vents, then 99% of the time that states that the indoor section is frozen. We're just not moving any air through the system.
Gotcha. This is all good to know because a lot of times we throw around terms, we don't really know what they mean. We just know that something's busted and it's not working the way it's supposed to. We appreciate your time and your expertise. Folks at home, you may want to send this interview to somebody else who's having an AC problem. It's going to be in the Who Wants to Know section of our website. We appreciate you guys. Right now, we're going to take a look
We're glad to help.
at our
Thank
forecast.
you so much.
Yeah.